Well, now, local people have been celebrating in St Ives in Cornwall after a court ruled that newly built homes could not be sold as second homes. They'd already voted in a referendum to stop holiday home ownership, at least for new builds, but property developers then went for a judicial review. It failed, and now other villages hope to follow suit and outlaw newly constructed dwellings. A referendum won by locals to stop incomers prompts a judicial review. So far, so Brexit. But what else does this story tell us about second home ownership and its rights and wrongs? Well, joining us now, Gemma Godfrey, the CEO of the online investment platform Moo.la, and Dawn Foster, regular contributor here and a columnist at The Guardian. Welcome both. Dawn, if I can start with you, we'll get on to the rights and wrongs of second home ownership in just a sec. But a local community wins a referendum partly based in the idea that they don't want to see people migrating to their area. The losing party then go through judicial review. It has shades of Brexit, this, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely. I think I've travelled to a lot of these areas. I've travelled to Cornwall to report on poverty. I've travelled to Wales, where they're currently pushing through legislation to double council tax on second homes. And most of these people basically see what's happening in London, but realise that their economy is really, really weak, and realise that their children can't get, can't rent, they can't buy. And they see kind of wealthy people coming in, taking advantage of that. So I think it's completely understandable that they do move to try and stop second home ownership and actually try and make sure that their community is sustainable for the people who live in it first, rather than the people who use it as a kind of holiday home or purely to diversify and enlarge their property portfolio.
Yeah. On the first point, Gemma Godfrey, I mean, it's a familiar lament, isn't it, that you'll go to some villages, I don't know, drive through parts of the Cotswolds, for instance, and you can see that there are no lights on. There are no lights on. The pub's closing, the shop's closing, the cricket team's folding, because most of the homes are owned by people who don't live there, apart from at the weekend.
The big problem is empty homes. So if we just take a step back, I mean, it's a good thing that lots of people want what you're selling. So it's a good thing that there is high demand.
Had a feeling that was going to happen. Had a feeling in my bones that was going to... Oh, no, it's gone. Let's go back to Dawn Foster and try and sustain a debate between me and you, Dawn. How we're going to do it, I don't know. There is a difference, isn't there? There is a difference between the picture you paint, Dawn, of these poor, benighted communities, say, in Cornwall, and the fact that somebody might want to buy a second home, a property in, let's say, Westminster or Canary Wharf, work there in the week, go home, in quotation marks, at the weekend.
Yes, I think so. But I think this is a very, very different thing to people having one home that they spend 4 days a week in and one day they spend 3 days a week in. Most of these properties are completely empty most of the time. And I think there's a big difference between empty homes. So if you go to Liverpool, there are around about 3,000 empty homes that don't belong to anybody whatsoever. And could easily be lived in if there was a demand there. But instead, people who want to kind of widen the number of houses they own go for the more desirable places like Cornwall, etc.
The thing is, Dawn, there's also, is there not a fashion for solitary living as well? I mean, sometimes, fashion may feel like the wrong word to some people. If you're a lonely older person who's lost their spouse, you've not chosen, it's not a fashionable choice, it's just a fact of life. But there is also a demonstrable trend towards people, middle-aged people, young people, who want to live alone, but they still want a house. So that's using up housing stock too.
Yes, I think so. But I mean, most of the people who do that tend to live in areas like London, etc. I meet a lot of old people as well who really would like to downsize, move to a smaller flat, but the problem is that because house prices are so high, they're expected by their family to cling on to the assets there. So I think there are a lot of people who would like to live in smaller homes, who might like to live in kind of sheltered communities, etc. But they're worried about the fact that they're cash poor but asset rich and can't move out. So I think if the government maybe incentivised downsizing more, that might help as well.
Gemma, we're going to put our faith back in the technology. We were going to talk about pubs closing down.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem is empty homes, but also the problem is for our young people, because we don't have enough affordable housing. And what you're seeing is these ageing populations, young people not able to come back and move back home. And actually what we've also seen a rise in the number of young people that are sleeping rough. So this is a very big problem. However, the focus should be on increasing the availability of affordable housing rather than trying to penalise and restrict other people coming in, because the benefit of second home ownership is that it can drive tourism, because these people can come in and they can rent out these homes to young people.
Oh, yeah,
they can rent them out
on that point, Gemma, I want both of you to have a guess at how many holiday lets there are in Cornwall. Go on, just pick a number. Your best guess. Gemma?
Oh, no, I mean, I have no idea. Go ahead.
All right. Go on, Dawn, are you prepared to?
20,000.
Very good. Instinctive guess. 22. You've done your homework. 22,000 holiday lets in Cornwall. My point is, they all need cleaning. They all need maintenance. Yeah. They're wealth creating in some respects, Gemma.
Exactly, it's trickling down into the local economy, because what it's doing is it's driving tourism, it's driving the second economy. The problem being are those that are left empty for the majority of the time. But if it drives tourism, if also they're rented out to young people, or if they're, also we can't villainize people that are renting out their homes, because what they're able to do is supplement some of their income, and they're looking to just be able to modestly afford a better retirement and not be so reliant on the state. So I think what this is doing is it's also villainizing potentially and overshadowing some of the benefits of second home ownership. But there is a key problem, which is the lack of affordable housing for our young people.
Dawn, I was treated a couple of months ago to a ride with my young lad in a combine harvester with a man who works on the land, and I was astonished at what his hourly rate of pay was. I won't tell you what it was, but it was astonishingly low. And isn't that part of this story as well, that rates of pay in rural Britain are too low to buy a nice gaff?
Yes, completely. A lot of my family grew up and still live in Penzance, and actually looking at the local economy there, the cost of living has increased massively, and part of that is due to homes that remain completely empty through the year and have pushed up house prices. But actually, if you look at wages, wages haven't moved, and more shops have closed since recession because people don't earn enough; they can't put it back into the economy. So I think what people in Cornwall are doing, which is increasingly what a lot of people around the country would like to do, is to look for a more sustainable economy where people live there year round, rather than an economy that relies on kind of small blips of tourism that might give you a couple of months of plenty, but in the long term give you much higher house prices and push young people out, and also don't give you the stability to actually kind of look at renting or owning your own home in those areas.
I get the feeling, Gemma, that Dawn suggests that this is an idea whose time has come, and we may see other areas having referenda like this. Do you see more of this on its way?
I do. I see that when we saw with Brexit, and also what we saw in the US, that globally, this is a global phenomenon that people just feel disenfranchised, they feel alienated, they feel isolated, and they've kind of lost a little bit of hope. And absolutely, what this very clearly ties into is people's lack of ability to be able to grow their money and to be able to afford...
Or control their own lives. Or control their own lives.
Exactly, because wages are not rising. And what we're seeing is the cost of living is, and if salaries aren't rising to keep up with that, then people are getting actually worse off.
Gemma, Dawn, really good to talk to you. Thanks a lot.